أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 224, Surah Al-Ahzab, ayah number 53 to 58. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have believed, la tadkhulu buyutan nabiyyi, do not enter the houses of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, illa an yu'dhana lakum ila ta'amin ghayra nazirina inahu, except when you are permitted for a meal without awaiting its readiness. In this ayah, the believers are being addressed. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. And the address is with harf nida, ya. And this is a declaration that observing these commands is what? A requirement of iman. This is something that your iman necessitates. If you want to prove your iman, if you want to strengthen your iman, then what do you have to do? You have to observe these instructions that are being given over here. Typically, the commands that are given after such an address, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, what are they about? Legal rulings, isn't it? Something with regards to marriage, divorce, iddah, things that we have learned recently, or something about salah, something about spending, so on and so forth. They're mainly about ibadah, isn't it? Acts of worship, legal rulings. But over here we see that after the address of Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us with regards to the etiquette of social gatherings, the etiquette of visiting other people's houses, that how we should go, when we should go, how we should behave, what we should do there. So what does it show? That observing good etiquette of social life, good social manners, this is what? A part of iman. Being a civilized person, being a cultured person, being a good person socially, this is what? A part of iman. Iman is not just about praying salah, giving the zakat, but iman is also about behaving with other people in a good way. Behaving in a way that would not cause harm to other people. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who have believed, because you have iman, you must do this, that la tadkhulu, do not enter what? Buyutan nabiyyi, the houses of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do not enter these houses. Except when, illa, except, meaning only enter when, an yu'dhana lakum, that it is permitted for you, meaning you have been allowed to enter, only then you should enter. Otherwise, do not just barge in, do not just go in, do not go uninvited. Only go when you are invited, only go when you are allowed to come in. So, illa an yu'dhana lakum. And when is it that you're allowed to come in? Ila ta'amin, to some food, meaning when you are invited for some meal, then you should go. Otherwise, do not go unnecessarily and do not go in without permission. What do we see over here? That the houses of the Prophet ﷺ have been mentioned. Buyut is a plural of bayt. And what is the bayt? The place where a person spends his night. The place where a person's family is. The place where a person's wife lives. So what are the houses of the Prophet ﷺ? And how many houses did he have? How many buyut did he have? He had 9 houses. Why? Houses, don't think of houses as mansions. No. Buyut, you see, every wife of the Prophet ﷺ had her individual house. The wives of the Prophet ﷺ did not live in a common place. Rather, they all had their private quarters where they lived in privacy, in security, where they could have their independence. And these houses, they were not huge in their size at all. In fact, they have been described as hujurat in the Quran. Hujra is what? A room, right? A small room, a small chamber. So these houses were not huge. However, they were sufficient to provide privacy and freedom. And how many houses were they? What did I mention to you? 9 houses. So, لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي. Now, earlier, we learned about these houses, that they were described as وَاذْكُرْنَ مَا يُتْلَى فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. Remember? The wives of the Prophet ﷺ were told, remember what is recited in your houses. Previously, these houses were described as the houses of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And over here, these houses are being described as whose houses? The Prophet ﷺ's houses. Why? Is this a contradiction? This is not a contradiction. You see, the house where the man lives with his wife, sometimes it is referred to by the woman's house and sometimes it is referred to by the man's house. Right? Because both have a right over it. And some scholars, they have said that these houses were actually the property of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. They were not the property of Muhammad ﷺ, rather he had given them as property to who? To his wives. Because if you think about it, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, they lived in these houses while he was alive, and they continued to live in them after he passed away. And if these houses were his property, then could they continue to live in them? No. Why? Why? The prophets of Allah, they don't leave behind any inheritance. Whatever property they do leave behind, that is distributed in charity amongst the people. So if it was his property, then what would happen? It would be divided amongst the people. But because it was their property, this is why they continue to live in those houses until they passed away. And later on, after many years, what happened? These houses, they were included in the Masjid al-Nabawi as it was expanded. So, لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي. Do not enter the houses of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, although this ayah speaks specifically about the house of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but there is great lesson in this for us. And remember that the hukum is general. It doesn't mean that if we're not allowed to enter the house of the Prophet ﷺ in this way, we are allowed to enter the houses of other people in this way. That if we're not allowed to go to the Prophet's house uninvited, we can go to other people's house uninvited. No. The house of the Prophet ﷺ is being mentioned as an example. And in this is a lesson for us. That if you're not allowed to do this in his house, then you're not allowed to do this in anyone else's house. That these are the etiquette that you must observe when you visit other people's houses. So, first of all, لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي إلا أن يؤذن لكم. Unless it is permitted for you. What does this teach us? That it is not permitted to enter someone's house, it is not allowed to enter someone's house without their permission. Sometimes what happens? We learned in Surah An-Nur about the command of seeking permission before entering, right? And what happens? We go to somebody's house, we go to somebody's room, somebody's office, we knock once, twice, thrice. There's no response. What is our next step? We open up the door and walk in. Is that appropriate? Is that appropriate? No. What did we learn earlier? That if you do not find anyone, if you do not get any response, then what should you do? Go back. Return. Because unfortunately, many times this happens, that somebody is working in their office, somebody is studying in their workplace, and what happens? Somebody else is knocking, they're doing something important, they do not wish to be disturbed. And remember that if you're in your private space, somebody is knocking, seeking permission to come inside, you have the right to respond or not respond. So, if you do not receive any response from the inside, doesn't mean you open the door. You do not open the door. And this applies to somebody's house, this applies to somebody's private space, it applies to somebody's office, it applies to all those places on which it says on the outside, no entry. Okay? You understand? So, if we knock on that door, good. Response, good. No response, leave a message over there. Try to call somebody else. And perhaps there is nobody inside. Perhaps they're busy. So, do not continue to harass them either. You understand? So, what do we learn from this? لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي إلا أن يؤذن لكم. Do not go as an uninvited guest. Do not go to somebody's house as an uninvited guest. لا تدخلوا بيوت النبي إلا أن يؤذن لكم. And يؤذن is from the root letters Hamza, Dhal, Noon, Idhn. What does Idhn mean? Permission. Right? And remember that to allow someone to come in, you can give them permission in two ways. First of all, permission is idhn lafzi, through words. That somebody's knocking, you ask, okay, who is it? They say, so and so. They say, you say, okay, come in. You understand? So one is that you allow someone to come in how? Through your words. They ask, may I come in? You say, yes, please. Go ahead. The second way of allowing someone to come in is idhn urfi. Idhn urfi. What does urf mean? That which is recognized, right? So, what does it mean by idhn urfi? That when it is understood that you can come in. When it is understood that you can come in. Like, for example, there are some places, some rooms, some areas, some offices, some halls, where it's understood that you can come in. Like, for example, this room. If you happen to be outside, which you shouldn't be, but if you have to come in, then are you going to knock on the door and seek permission? Are you? No. It's understood that you can come in. Isn't it so? However, if you see that there is a private meeting going on, only the staff is sitting, then should you seek permission? Of course you should. So idhn urfi is, like for example, the place is such, it's a common place, you do not need to seek permission. Or for instance, you go to somebody's house, the door is left open. And this especially happens when? When there's a party, or there's something going on in the house, they've invited you as a guest. The door is open. It says on the outside, men this way, women this way. Leave your shoes outside, for instance. Now, each person, as they come, should they be ringing the bell, knocking on the door, may I come in, may I come in? Should they be doing this? No. If the door has been left open, and the signs have been placed outside, what does it mean? Permission has been granted. You can come in. Isn't it so? And if you knock the door, if you ring the bell, and the host has to go respond to everybody coming in, then it would be very difficult for them. Now, it's different if the host has closed the door, there's no sign outside, then obviously you're not going to just open the door and walk in. Then you are going to ring the bell, knock the door, whatever is appropriate. Okay? Similarly, idhn urfi is that you have been invited to come at a particular time. You have been told that you can come at this time, the door will be closed, however, you can come in. You understand? You have been told, come to this place at this time for this purpose, the door will be closed, however, you can come in. Now at that time, should you be knocking on the door seeking permission? You don't have to. You understand? Why? Because permission has already been given to you. However, when you do come in, what should you do? Isti'nas. Remember? Make your presence known. How? By saying salam out loud. Doing something so that the people who are inside know that you're coming. Because if you come in silently like a thief, then they might get frightened. So, إِلَّا أَن يُؤْذَنَ لَكُمْ. Do not enter the houses of the Prophet unless it is permitted for you. Only come in when it is allowed for you. And this idhn could be idhn lafzi and also idhn urfi. Now, if you look at the word yu'dhana, this is majhul. It is allowed for you. It hasn't been said unless he allows you to come in. You understand? It hasn't been said unless he allows you to come in. Rather, it has been said, it is permitted for you. The fa'il, the one who gives permission, has not been mentioned over here. Why? Because if it was mentioned that the Prophet only gives permission to you, then it would be restricted to that only. But the fact is that when you go to somebody's house, whether the man of the house responds or the woman of the house, if they allow you to come in, you can go in. You do not have to say, no, ask your husband, can I come in or not? No. إِلَّا أَن يُؤْذَنَ لَكُمْ, unless it is permitted for you, meaning anyone from the inside who is reliable, not necessarily a child, someone who is an adult, someone who is reliable, once they allow you to come in, then go ahead. إِلَّا أَن يُؤْذَنَ لَكُمْ. And when is it permitted for you to come in? إِلَى طَعَامٍ, to some food. Now, what does it mean by this? That you are invited for some food, meaning you're invited for a meal. Only then you should go. Now, does this mean that a person can only go to other people's house when he has been invited for a meal? And if he's invited for some other purpose, he should not go? No. Then why is ta'am mentioned over here? Because this is specific to the context in which this ayah was revealed. It was a time when the Prophet ﷺ invited people for food to his house, one of the houses, the house of Zainab bint Jahash radhiyallahu anha. And this is why ta'am is mentioned. However, this is general. That whenever you have been invited for a purpose, for a reason, only then you should go. But in this is a lesson. What lesson? That a person should not go to other people's houses all the time, unnecessarily, without a purpose. Rather, he should restrict his visits to special occasions. Because when do you invite someone to have food? At a special occasion. Isn't it so? Typically, when do you invite people to have food in your house? At a special occasion. Like, for instance, Eid, or someone's wedding, or so on and so forth. So, it's not appropriate that you keep going to other people's houses all the time, and expecting that they should be serving you. But a person should restrict his visitations to other people's houses to special occasions. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't go to other people's houses at all. No, you may go. But when you go, don't go at a time when people are eating. Do you understand? Don't go at a time when it's time to eat. Like, for example, you end up right at supper time, lunchtime. Because they haven't invited you for that food. You're uninvited. Now you have some business, you have to ask them something, you have to go. Now when you go, make sure you don't go at such a time, because you will cause them inconvenience. Isn't it so? Now, earlier we have learned about seeking permission before entering somebody's house. Right? That is before entering somebody's house. This is coming by invitation. So only come by invitation, especially to the house of the Prophet ﷺ. And if you do have to go for other purpose, then when should you not go? When should you not go? At what time? When it's time to eat. So, إِلَى طَعَامٍ, to some food, غَيْرَ نَاظِرِينَ إِنَاهُ, not as ones who are waiting for its preparation, for the food to be prepared. What does it mean by this? If you look at this ayah together, that do not enter the houses of the Prophet ﷺ unless it is allowed for you to enter, to come in, for some food that you have been invited to. But don't go at a time that you have to go and wait for the food to be prepared. What does it mean by this? What does it mean by this? Don't go too early. غَيْرَ نَاظِرِينَ إِنَاهُ. Nazirin is a plural of Nazir. And who is Nazir? What does Nazara mean? Noon Zara. What does Nazara mean? Yanzuruna. To look. Right? To look at. Remember that the word Nazara, when it's followed by ila, Yanzuruna ilayka, for instance. When it's followed by ila, then Nazara means to look at something with one's eye. Meaning to see. To see, when the word is followed by ila. But when the word nazara comes by itself, without any ila, then it gives the meaning of intazara. And what does intazara mean? To wait. Like for instance, we learn هَلْ يَنظُرُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَأْتِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظُلَلٍ مِّنَ الْغَمَامِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ وَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ. That are they waiting that Allah should come to them? So غَيْرَ نَاظِرِينَ, Nazirin over here means ones who are waiting. So don't go at a time that you have to be waiting for what? Inahu, its preparation. Whose preparation? The food. Now the word ina is from the root letters Hamza, Noon, Ya. Hamza, Noon, Ya. Ana, ya'ni, ina. And ana, ya'ni, ina is when the food is prepared. Now in order to prepare food, what do you need? Time. Isn't it so? So this word also gives the meaning of time. And it also means to boil. Anin, baynaha wa bayna hamimin an, boiling spring. To boil, to become tender. And it takes time for food to start boiling, to become tender, to reach its maximum tenderness. So غَيْرَ نَاظِرِينَ إِنَاهُ, do not come so early that you're watching the food being prepared. Because if you're watching the food being prepared, naturally, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to comment on it. Isn't it? and you're going to interfere constantly. And you're going to cause a lot of distress and worry and concern for who? For the host. Because they're trying to prepare the food, at the same time they're trying to entertain you, and it's quite possible they're not in the best of their appearances at that time. They still have to go and change and get ready. And if the food is not prepared, then I'm sure a lot of the things have not been yet prepared. So غَيْرَ نَاظُرِينَ إِنَاهُ, don't go so early, making it embarrassing for the host, causing them inconvenience. And sometimes what happens, if you go and sit and keep asking, is the food ready? Is the food ready? Then what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It will make the host feel so embarrassed. It will make them so worried. So don't go early. وَلَكِنْ but إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ, when you are invited, فَدُخُلُوا, then you should enter. What does it mean by this? That go at the time that you have been invited. Don't go early and don't go late. غَيْرَ نَاظُرِينَ إِنَاهُ, what does it mean? Don't go early. And وَلَكِنْ إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ فَدُخُلُوا, what does that mean? Don't go late either. So don't enter without permission, do not go without invitation, and do not go early, and do not go late. So when should you go? When you are invited, and also go at the right time, at the proper time. We see that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to invite people to his house for food. Because it has been said, وَلَكِنْ إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ, when you are invited. So he would invite people to come to his house in order to eat food. Like for instance, we learn about that story of Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. That how once he was extremely hungry, and he left the masjid in order to find some food, and he found Umar radhiyallahu anhu, and he asked him a question about some ayah of the Qur'an, hoping that Umar radhiyallahu anhu would realize that I'm hungry and he would offer him some food. But Umar radhiyallahu anhu did not realize. He gave him the answer to the question and he went away. Abu Hurairah, he was still hungry. So he kept looking and he went to the house of the Prophet ﷺ. And when he asked him, the Prophet ﷺ figured out he's hungry. So then he invited him to have food and he gave him milk to drink. So وَلَكِنْ إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ, when you are invited, then you should go. We see that Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu, he didn't just go, knock at the door, you have some food, I'm very, very hungry, please give me something. No. إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ. Look at the etiquette that they observed. And we also see that at the time that the Prophet ﷺ got married to Zainab radhiyallahu anha, he sent Anas radhiyallahu anhu to go and invite people to his house to come and eat. So وَلَكِنْ إِذَا دُعِيتُمْ, when you are invited, فَدُخُلُوا, then you should enter. And how should you enter? By seeking permission. And if permission has been granted to you already, urfi permission, then what should you do? Isti'nas upon entering, depending on the situation. And if you think about it, if a person comes late, earlier we learned about coming early. Now if a person comes late, would that cause any trouble to the host? Would it? Like what? Food getting cold. Then what's going to happen? The host has to keep reheating the food. Isn't it so? And sometimes certain foods are such that if you keep reheating them, what happens? They get spoiled, they get ruined, they get destroyed, literally. Isn't it? So you have to take it fresh out of the oven and serve immediately. Many foods are like that. So imagine if your host has prepared food like that. Now, wouldn't that cause them a lot of inconvenience? Of course it would. Now, it's quite possible that for some genuine reason you are unable to come on time. Happens, doesn't it? Doesn't it happen? You're unable to come on time. You have to go late. Like for example, right when you were supposed to leave, your child ends up sleeping. Or around that time, he ends up sleeping. Now what are you going to do? If you wake him up, put him in the car seat, he's going to start crying and the whole evening is going to be extremely difficult. Or something unexpected comes up. So what should you do in that situation? Inform the host. And these days, is it difficult? It's not difficult. All you have to do is to make one phone call, send one text message, and that's it. So that they know when they should put the food in the oven, or when they should take it out, or when they should increase the heat. Right? And if you go late, it's going to cause them inconvenience, unnecessary trouble, and unnecessary worry as well. So, فَدُخُلُوا, enter. Enter when? When you are told to come. not early and not too late. Okay, now you have come on time. You ate your food. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا طَعِمْتُمْ, then when you have eaten, then what should you do? فَانْتَشِرُوا, then leave. Don't stay. Once you've eaten, then go home. Why? Because the purpose has been fulfilled. You were called for what? For ta'am. The host served you, you ate. Now the purpose has been fulfilled. The reason for which you were invited has been fulfilled. Now you should go. There's no need for you to stay. فَإِذَا طَعِمْتُمْ فَانْتَشِرُوا, then disperse, go. Don't stay over there. Now one thing that you should notice over here is, it hasn't been said, فَإِذَا شَبِعْتُمْ, that when you have eaten to your fill, and you're satisfied, and you've had your dessert, and your tea, and everything, then you should leave. No, what has been said? طَعِمْتُمْ, meaning whatever food has been offered to you, whether it has fulfilled you or not, whether it has quenched your thirst and hunger or not, still, whatever food was offered to you, however little it was, after that, what should you do? Leave. Don't sit there wondering or asking the host, is there going to be tea? Is there going to be some dessert? What about this and what about that? No. Whatever food was offered to you, good. After that, leave. فَانْتَشِرُوا. وَلَا مُسْتَأْنِسِينَ, and not ones who seek familiarity, who become comfortable, لِحَدِيثٍ, for speech. Meaning, don't stay back, getting very comfortable in order to have a long conversation with one another. Musta'nisina is a plural of musta'nis, from the root letters Hamza, Noon, Sin. Uns. What does uns mean? To be friendly, to be sociable. And musta'nis is one who seeks familiarity, or one who wants to socialize. You understand? One who wants to socialize. One who takes interest. So don't stay back taking interest in socializing, لِحَدِيثٍ, for the purpose of speech. Just in order to chat amongst yourselves, or to listen to the conversations of the people of the house. What does it show to us? That if you are invited for food, once the food has been served, you have eaten, then you should be concerned about leaving, and not staying back for endless conversations. However, if the schedule of the event is such that food is served first, and then people are expected to stay afterwards, okay, then you can stay. You understand? If the schedule is such, you have been told, we'll eat first and then we'll have a talk. We'll eat first and then so-and-so will come and we'll sit together and speak to one another. If the schedule was such, that's different. But if you have been told that you're just being invited for food, then after you have eaten, then you should be concerned about leaving. You know why? The host has to clear up once you're gone. And if you stay for 2 hours, talking and sipping on that tea, making yourself sleepy and making them sleepy, what's going to happen? You leave at 12 in the night, and they have to clear up their house. They have to clear up the kitchen. They have to put the food away. They have to put the dishwasher on and so forth. Isn't it? Their work begins when you leave. And if you stay, then it's going to cause them a lot of inconvenience. A lot of inconvenience. And also one more thing, that at certain occasions, like for example at a wedding, if the guests have been invited, food was served, people have eaten, now what should they be concerned about? About leaving. Because if they stay back, then what are they doing? They're preventing the husband and wife who have just gotten married from meeting one another. Because until all the guests have left, can the bride leave? She cannot. Can the groom leave? He cannot. Can they disappear? It's considered very wrong. So, what happens then? If guests leave extremely late, it prevents the husband and wife from meeting one another. Many times it happens that they have had such a long day, and then on top of that, such a long night, that when they meet one another, they're exhausted. Exhausted completely. So, وَلَا مُسْتَأْنِسِينَ لِحَدِيثٍ. Don't do that. Don't stay back for talking. Rather, as soon as you've eaten, then leave. إِنَّ ذَلِكُمْ. Indeed in that. Meaning, indeed that, O you all. What does ذَلِك refer to? You're coming uninvited, or you're coming early, or you're coming late. or you're staying back after eating and talking. This behavior of yours, كَانَ يُؤْذِي النَّبِيَّ, it hurts the Prophet ﷺ. This behavior of yours hurts him. He does not like it. Why does he not like it? Why did it hurt him? Think about it. Because first of all, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time, you're wasting his time. That it doesn't suit a person who has a purpose in his life that he goes somewhere to eat, and after eating he stays for hours just talking and talking and talking. Life is not just about eating and drinking and talking and dressing up for occasions. That your whole day goes just in that. And if a person's behavior is such that he goes late, he eats a lot, constantly commenting on the food, and after eating, he stays back demanding dessert and tea, and he is talking, and he leaves late, then he goes home, and then finally he sleeps after a very long time, then what does it show? That this person has nothing useful to do in his life. That a whole day has been spent on just one dawat. You understand? Only on just one occasion, or one invitation, or one party. A whole day has been spent on that. What does it show? That a person does not have anything purposeful to do in his life. It's amazing how sometimes people are so preoccupied with this, that in the morning the first thing is, what am I going to wear? What am I going to wear? Which shoes, which clothes, which makeup, which jewelry, which this, which that. The whole day is spent on that. And there's discussions going on amongst the family. Are you going to wear this? Are you going to wear that? Are you going to wear this one? Okay, wear this one. Don't wear this one, don't wear that one. So much time has been spent. So much time is spent on just dressing up. And then what happens? People end up going late, and then so much time is spent in eating, and so much time is spent on talking, and then so much time is spent in coming back, and then the whole day is gone in just one party. The whole day.